And then I'm going to go ahead and start our broadcast now. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Am I too dark? Do I need some light?
A little bit.
Little bit.
Okay.
We can see your pretty face.
I'll pause it till she sits.
Yeah, I don't want to be so dark.
Okay. There we go.
Is that better? Oh, yeah, that's much better. Oh, okay.
Okay, we're on.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Thursday evening. We are delighted to be with you and to have this opportunity together to come together to grow, be empowered and equipped with tools and resources that can help us manage stress. Anybody on here been stressed? Yes. So I am Pastor Enid Henderson from Jones Memorial United Methodist Church. And one of the things that Pastor Levingston and I have been talking about is how do we equip our community with resources and tools, and how do we give care and attention to topics that everyone doesn't always want to talk about. And we know for our community, mental health is absolutely one of those topics. I am so pleased to be here with Jessica Somerville, who is the Director of Community and Church and Community, the Health Initiative with the Texas Annual Conference. She has been such a blessing to us and our community and helping us to provide resources. And this has been a conversation she and I have had for a while. And she shared some great resources in terms of our guest panelists tonight. So we are excited to hear what they have to share with us and learn and grow. So Jessica, please.
Yes, thank you, Enid. And I just want to say thank you to Enid and Jones Memorial for giving us this platform and just, following through with the community needs, especially with this month, since July is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're just kicking it off and making sure we expose the community, the different resources and things that are available, and then giving some practical strategies that Dr. Lewis and Ms. Laverne West will share with us about how we can handle stress. So first, before we get started, I definitely want to introduce y'all to these wonderful women that are joining us that has impart a lot of great wisdom. So our first guest is Dr. Willie Mae Lewis. She is actually a board certified specialist in providing counseling and guidance for anyone seeking to improve their overall health and quality of life. Her advanced training also includes her PhD in counseling psychology from Temple University. May I say? Okay. She's very active within her community, and she says here that she loves bowling, swimming, biking, and exercising, and taking walks in the country. So everyone, this is Dr. Willie Mae Lewis.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for allowing me to have this time with you and Jones Memorial. And I'm looking forward to us discussing all these topics.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Next, our guest is Mrs. Laverne West. She is actually a wellness coordinator for Fit for Life Counseling and Training Program. She's a certified health and wellness coach, and she specializes in mind, body, spirit model, integrating treatment strategies to assist people experiencing chronic diseases, diabetes, and pain as it impacts mental health. And she's actually currently in the mix of doing your master's in arts degree in counseling from Houston Graduate School of Theology, correct, Ms. West?
Yes, I've graduated. I'm an LPC intern now.
Okay, so you're all well on your way. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
But she graduated from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, with a BS in psychology. So everyone, please welcome Miss Laverne West.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you. And I am looking forward to diving into our topic so that we can help others handle stress.
Absolutely. So before we get started, I do want to ask y'all just one or two personal questions, and then we're going to dig deep in, okay? So
yes,
tell me, and each one of you guys can answer, what made you decide to serve as a mental health professional? Like what got you?
what I would like to share this story. One of the things is I saw a lot of illness around me. And I think it was early in my life that I saw that people handle it differently. Some people had people in their back room that they would take food to, and I would want to know and understand what that was about. And I would see it was a couple called Alice and Maxie. And you know, your parents didn't allow you to go many places in the evening. You had to stay home. And we would sit on the front porch, and this couple would have an argument every Friday. And it was called, and all of the children in the neighborhood called it Alice and Max's show. And so we were looking at this thing, and the drama would begin on that day, just as if you were looking at a TV movie. And we would all try to figure out the motivation, what was it about. And I said at that time, I really want to understand what makes people do this, and why is it that some people do it and other people don't. And I think a combination of that and growing up with my grandfather earlier in my life until age 6, and I would just enjoy going back every summer for 4 months. Of course, that time people didn't go back to school until September the 10th or after Labor Day. So I was there, and I learned so many things about how to handle situations, and I wanted to be able to do that with so many different people. And my grandfather taught me through caring for animals and working on the farm exactly how to think about things. Mm-hmm. So with the combination of that, the reality of looking at how to sustain and resilience, and then how is it that some people do and others don't. And so that's why I decided at some point in time in high school that I really wanted to spend more time understanding that for everyday life.
Okay, that definitely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the community, you may see, you know, certain things when you're younger. I know I did as well, and it was just kind of like, oh, that's always, you know, sleeping under rug.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you didn't know to think like that could be an issue.
Yes,
you know?
that. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Miss West, like, how did you get into health and wellness? What made you say, hey, I want to address this? What was the turning point?
Well, mine is a little bit more personal. I lived in California for some years, and in California, the jury people would call you on the phone and ask you to come if you wanted to be a juror. And so I told the little lady, I said, listen, some days everybody's guilty, and this is the day. And so she said, okay, ma'am, I'm going to leave you alone. And then right after that, a little lady, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was a little lady that had an umbrella, and it would rain on her. And
Lord,
everywhere she was walking, it was raining. And they said, if you need help, call me. And so I called that number, and my therapist, which was way back, you know, back then, African Americans did not go to therapy. And so back then she helped me through a very difficult time. And I said, you know what? I want to do this. I want to help people come out on the other end as not as a victim, but as having victory in their lives.
Yes, yes.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're here to, do unto others, someone else, you make it and then you pull somebody else up with you, right? So
right.
I think that's real. I like that. I like that it was personal for you. That's awesome.
Right.
So you guys are absolutely, clearly, all of us are aware of what's going on. We're in the middle of a pandemic. It seems like part 2 of that pandemic right now.
Yes.
And also in the middle of people really having the time to take a look and addressing systemic racism. And with that comes an amount of stress that people don't even realize. So at this point in time, what have y'all been seeing here lately? What have y'all noticed? And in particular, maybe with the African American community, how these 2 things have been handling, how has it been, how we've been handling it? Have we been ignoring it as far as mental health is concerned? Do you think it's just kind of been swept under the water, or can you kind of see the effects of the pandemic and us addressing these social issues?
I think actually I've seen 2 things that I would like to respond to. One thing I've seen is that predominantly, or let's say it's a larger number or percentage of African Americans that are being affected by this COVID and other situations, other crises or stress-oriented situations. And I think that we're looking at reasons why. And some of them I see is that because of the whole idea of being African American and past situations, that we as African Americans are responding differently to the pandemic. Okay, and not recognizing that. But now I'm beginning to, as I interview people, beginning to understand why it is that we are responding differently to the pandemic. So we're not wearing masks predominantly. We're wanting to be free. I see more people going into stores without masks, socializing in large groups together as if nothing is going on. And so those are the two things that I really see, but we're having a higher number of persons dying and being affected by the COVID in comparison to other populations. Those are two things that I see.
In your opinion, Dr. Lewis, why do you think that is? Do you think it's denial? Do you think?
Well, I think that it has to be, well, let me say it like this. I know that we've been talking about stress and trauma, and I see it as a whole play upon the history of stress that we have encountered over many years, and how we perceive the stress and the labels that we put on the stress, whether we're going to be strong and handle that. And the other thing is, can you really trust the people who are putting the information out here? Because of the history of African Americans in the United States. And I think we were going to talk a little bit about this post-traumatic slave syndrome and trauma bonding and all of these things is going on. So we're trying to determine that. But you said, why is it? It is, I think, a psychological safety, although it's detrimental, but it's a way of perceiving your environment. It's like schizophrenia. We were talking the other day, and somebody said, oh, schizophrenia can't be healthy. I said, well, define what healthy is. Healthy is developing a behavior or a response to your environment that allows you to survive. So then when you're living in an environment that has two separate messages for you and treat you in two different ways, your chances are increased that you're going to have bipolar responses, or you're going to have a schizophrenic in terms of the way you perceive and interpret the environment. And that is when you have overwhelming amount of stress that is facing your system. And we're not responding to society. We are, and I want to respond to our churches, because I'm invested in really working when we looking at the churches that really need, this is the last ditch hope. Okay, and if we don't come through for real this time, it's all over. And everybody knows it in terms of the way in which we appreciate our lives. You see, in the way we appreciate our living. It's like, if we don't do it now, it's not going to be done. It's all over. And the only thing that you can do is how we respond individually to the situation, and how it's called top down and bottom up. And we're going to have to really begin to do that simultaneously in order to survive. Because psychologically, if I go back to those diagnoses for wellness, then persons with schizophrenia, as one of the old theorists and psychologists said, there are unhealthy schizophrenic and there are healthy schizophrenics. So this is, schizophrenia is to save your life sometimes. That's a way in order to respond to the oppression, the abuse, the sustained situations that never go away. It's every day. Okay, so some people have been equipped with some skills and other people have not. And this is the breaking. This is what they said the thing that breaks it. So that's the breaking difference. I think that, and the reality of knowing yourself. And we're not teaching ourselves who we are. We're not sharing. So that's why with Miss West and I have started doing a life group, and we're doing, she can tell you more about that, And then we're looking at transformation. We're doing a transformation series, helping people to understand who they are so that they can transform and deal with the realities of racism. And we want to talk about COVID, but we don't want to talk about how racism is related to COVID.
Right.
They don't want you to say that word. And racism, I was looking at something that Martin Luther King was saying. He says that it is the foundation of everything. And he had begged the churches back then, and when they became active, that's how they became active. He says the truth will come forth when we deal with this whole racism, because it is rotten to the core.
Yes,
it is systematic, and some people can't see it. So I decided, because that was back there when my grandfather taught me how to ride the horse, to drive the sled. And I'll tell you about that later. But the thing is that you have to take a stand. And that's one reason why I'm glad that I'm older, because I see that even as pastors, as people, we're afraid to take the stand because we got to appease the congregation. We got to appease the environment. And the more we appease the environment and go along with something, because one pastor told me one time, I have to do this because I will lose a job. And he said, I'm doing wrong. You understand? So when we keep doing these things, we're actually partnering with the oppressor, the philosophy of the oppressor. Oh, it's so many dynamics in there. We'll get to it. I don't want to get all down in there too fast. So, but actually, so in healing, so we'll get to that. But you asked me that question. So that's how I see the illnesses that we face. It's all about a response to a situation that you cannot control, you can't mitigate. You what are you going to do?
Right. So in reality, the response that people are seeing when people are, upset about people not wearing masks or not adhering to social distancing, it's actually a response out of survival.
It's actually
not being able to trust the people that are giving you this information.
And this is why we just did that interview with the churches in the community, and we've been out when they give out the food, trying to get people to fill out. And guess what we're finding? And in our training, chronic disease classes, the training is we ask them a question, and we're finding out that they don't go to the doctor because they don't trust the doctor. They don't trust that the doctor is going to give them the best advice. And so this is why we're developing coalitions within the church and informing them. And we have already trained the nurses in all of our pod churches, so that they will know how to respond and build a coalition for wellness. You see, to respond to those questions and that people can trust. Yes.
Okay, so then with both of you, us establishing that, hey, our community, we know that there's a lot of trust broken. We're in the middle of trying to basically do away with the system and just completely create something new. So then what are some strategies or some things that we can do to get to be better mentally and to make sure that we're actually addressing these things?
Ms. West can tell you about the pastor's call to action that we're having. We really want pastors, and if you all can do anything to help, we're training the pastors, and they're setting up a round table on the third Wednesday of every month, so that they could begin to look at how to respond to these situations and lead the congregation. So we have pastors helping to lead the groups, and we as mental health professionals are being there to support and train. And this is getting ready to be a real power. Now I did not know that. I did not know until, how did he say it, Ms. West? He said there was a difference in terms of theology.
Yes.
How was it? Because you're a pastor, so you don't want to say nothing. That's what it is. You don't want to, you think I'm talking about pastors. I ain't getting it, all of that. So
he said that we have to change the culture in the church and move from Jesus is going to work it out to actually owning responsibility and learning how to make the right choice
and letting Jesus help us
how we live.
Yes.
Right.
So it'd be a whole different way of expressing, because he said what they're saying is that what they do is they add a program to appease people. And actually you're doing the same thing. And so that's why the lady in the meeting, you remember when she said, I wrote it down. She says, I got to get her name if you were there. She said, we give this money out, because I got to talk to you about this grant. So she said, we give this money out, but in Sunnyside, but the same thing exists in Sunnyside as it did 15 years ago when we gave the big money out before then. And the reason it's going to always be the same is because we're not addressing the real deal.
Yes.
And if anybody addressed the real deal, the man said what yesterday, you will be punished unless you have a coalition that supports the real deal.
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Lewis and Miss West, me and Enid are here. What's the real deal?
Well, let me see. Did I write anything down? The real deal, I wrote down trauma bonding is the real deal.
Okay.
Trauma bonding is where we are allowing our kids to think that they are not significant and to liken unto their oppressor, and make them think that the Bible said so. Okay, so in order to be a good Christian, you would have to be passive. You would have to not speak up. You would not have to share your thoughts and ask questions. So trauma bonding is to move away from who you really are and take on an attitude of those persons who are in the same situation, who are not. Now listen at this. I'm not saying this. I'm not, because the person who's going to work with us is a Euro-American. And it is that you have to call upon the people who are in the group for the oppressors, top down, bottom up. The real deal is that. And so she has agreed, several, and they're pulling a group together, and we're going to pull all the churches in when we do the training, and we're going to deal with the real deal. The real deal is racism, because here's the question that I'm responding to in my paper. How is it that the sickest people, the most people who are dying, live immediately around the medical center? So answer that. So we have all of the top trained physicians. We have all the information. We have all the equipment. And the highest people who are dying of COVID are African Americans right around the medical center or in those similar areas. So how is that? It's a systemic situation that perpetuates the same thing over and over, and it engages the victim to participate with it ongoing. And I can give you a situation in business. And I brought it up.
With that, Dr. Lewis, so if you are knowing that we could potentially be the victim, or if we're in a tight spot, like with what you guys do, what are some strategies or
do,
you guys can recommend to help someone potentially get to the right place where they need to be?
So I'm gonna let Miss West pull up something on that, but we talk about how to think, I wrote it down because Martin Luther King said it best. He says, when you're in a situation, your survival is to recognize how that behavior looks. If we do not teach our children how certain behaviors look without feeling bad about it or badly about it, then we are not helping the child develop the skills that they need in the reality.
Right.
So if they're in the reality, so they feel that they are not equipped, they don't know what to do. When have you heard so many children cutting their wrist? Children are hurting themselves, suicide. They think it's just nothing to save me. And so one of the things to do is you retool them, you tool them as to what it looks like, how to handle that one. And we also teach identity development. That's appropriate at the age of the child. And we have a minister who is working with all of the United Methodist churches and the churches in the area to look at identity development. And so one of those TV series that we're doing will be coming out, and it has already started. They've already done them. Some of them you can go on YouTube to find. Okay. And it's looking at what do we need to know to increase our health, and what do our children need to know? How do we mentor and teach them to survive? So we have a survivalist camp being planned, but we had to let it go because of the COVID. But we will have one. It's going to be like a spiritual revival sense, but it's going to be a revival tent. Okay, and so everybody,
like at the end, we'll talk about all the resources that you guys provide with Amani Faith Health and all the things that you guys are offering.
Look at the strategist, Ms. West.
Had a PowerPoint or some things y'all want to show about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. West, can you look at some of the things? So she will show you that what stress is and how the difference between that. Children need to know the difference between trauma and stress. They need to know that when they can't sleep at night and they start recalling things, we help them identify symptoms and to know that they're moving into trauma. And when they're away from a situation and they can still remember the situation and they can still see the situation, then we know that that's something you call post-traumatic stress. And their bodies can be harmed because children don't know what, so we show them chemicals like using lemon juice and different things like that, how chemicals can go through your body. So we teach them how to safeguard their minds and their bodies.
And this can also go towards adults as well, correct?
Oh, yes, we do. It's a whole body wellness program. And it got started back in 1990, as a response to HIV. And it was very effective with a group of churches there. Actually, it got started in Easy and Mount Carmel United Methodist Church when I was in the congregation there. And we used this to address HIV population. It was very good. It worked very well.
And Dr. West, just a quick follow-up question to this. Is there a program also where parents can learn these skills to walk alongside of their children in these situations?
Yes, we have a parenting program as well to help parents and kids come together and even understand the COVID, what's going on with the COVID, and help them process through all of that. So yes, we do have that. Okay, you ready to go to the next slide? Or you want to talk about this with Dr. Lewis?
Oh no, you can go ahead.
Go to the next one.
So, what is stress?
We talked about that. We teach them that. We teach them to identify when they think they're under stress, when their hair is falling out, when their skin is erupting. How can you tell? Everybody's different. You know, when you get angry, that they're stressed, and you can have a choice of what you do. And we teach them how to make choices, how to decide. But we also teach them things about their family and how to take pride in their family. That helps to reduce the stress. You see, the intergenerational program, I think, is good for that.
And you know what? I honestly, even me as an adult, I need reminders to remind myself, oh, okay, maybe I'm stressed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, you said some valid stuff, like your face breaks out, your hair stops coming.
And we all have stress, but you know, nobody wants you to say that you have stress, you know, that you're stressed out or whatever. But as soon as you say it, then you're less stressed than you were before you didn't say it.
Well, we're going to do a little demonstration at the end so you guys can kind of learn how to unwind, okay?
Okay, go on. So this just lets you know about third ward, and she can tell you about this. And
so the post-traumatic slave syndrome, that's interesting. Okay.
It's a theory developed by Dr. Joyce DeGraw, and she defines it as the adaptive survival behaviors in the African American community. And so these behaviors are extreme sense of suspicion, which we talked about, marked propensity for anger and violence, feeling hopelessness and depression. And I think that's part of the COVID-19. We're feeling hopeless and depressed. And then we have a self-destructive outlook, like nothing is going to ever change for us. And so this is the slide. This is the statistics that's associated by age with the COVID-19. Okay.
And you can see the disproportionate number of African Americans. The 178 is African American, which is the percentage out of 1,000. the number out of 1,000, and you can see the difference between the American Indian and the Hispanic group.
Right.
Okay. That we're way up there in terms of death and illness. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So the post-traumatic slave syndrome plus COVID-19. So African Americans are examples of historical and intergenerational trauma because it comes from slavery and it comes all the way down. And I really like this quote. It's from an author that I love. She says, pain moves through families until somebody is ready to feel it. And so this concept captures the essence of intergenerational trauma. So as we've been talking, COVID-19, it exacerbates helplessness and hopelessness. And then couples are forced to stay in the home whether they like each other or not. And then you may have a strong propensity to argue. And so, and one partner might need more affection than you're willing to give because you might be tired of being all in the house, with him. And then, of course, there are always the financial worries.
Right. Listen, I'm gonna make y'all pause right there because I'm not supposed to skip over that. We're not about to just skip over it like it's nothing.
Okay, skip over that. Okay. So this is from a Buddhist monk, and we like this quote. It says, you are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny.
Right.
That's true.
So then, okay, Doc, I told y'all I was not gonna let y'all skip over this.
Oh, okay.
So you are at home with your mate.
Yeah.
And y'all sitting up under each other. It doesn't matter how big your house is. Do y'all have some coping tips? How do you cope?
Yes. One of the things that we have them doing is we have a cooking show. And we have them all, they get in and they do their recipes, their cooking show, and all of the meals are stress reduction meals. And so that's one of the things that we found has been beneficial. We also do music together. They date, we show them how to redate. And Miss West has them collecting, she's more of the relationship couple. So I'm gonna let her tell what couples need to do. Because I tell them they need to get their head right. I try to let them reorient what they're thinking because they go up in there with some wrong thoughts and whatever. But she eases in there right quickly, and so I'll let her tell what she does with them.
Well, in couple therapy, there's something called the relationship dance. And so in that dance, we can all dance together, but if you're doing the tango, you got to know when to move. You got to know what to do. And so when you're getting involved with your partner, you need to know other things about your partner that you may not even know, like who's his best friend, or who does he enjoy, what kind of sports does he enjoy? And then you have to build an emotional bank account. And so that means that, maybe you kiss him, about 5-minute kiss every day. So that's going to help, kind of get the juices rolling so that you can reconnect, because we are created for connection. And so you don't want to leave him out there by yourself. And so you just, you might want to hug him or rub him on his head and say, you know what, baby, I really love you. And then it works both ways, right? So those
and
are
another thing, Miss Somerville, another thing. So I teach them some other stuff. Like I have them to retool themselves so that they know how to handle arguments and not be angry with each other. And put baby powder under the husband's pillow. And he puts maybe a little chocolate when she's not thinking about it in the bed. Just different, how to really not think about yourself and defend yourself, but how to feel what your partner is feeling and sense what they're doing. And so all of a sudden you begin to forget that you got to defend a space, and you then begin to want to welcome.
Right. So what y'all are telling me is that I cannot use that post-traumatic.
No, you can't use that by itself. No.
By itself again.
You got to do something. You got to do something with it. Right.
Some of it's about me and some things I need to change, making sure. Right.
Yes. You might have to dress up like one of the queens, and put the music on and do one of those special dances that'll blow his mind. So sometimes you might have to do some things that is out of the normal, because sometimes the normal is the problem. Okay.
Wait a minute, outside the Christian realm.
I don't know. Don't be putting words in. I didn't say nothing about. I don't see why that's not inside the Christian realm. Don't be. Look, you got it, Miss West. You have a fan in it.
I'm gonna pull y'all back in. That's my fault. I'm gonna pull y'all back
But
in.
you see how much humor. We even have them do humor. Do you remember this one time this man did a sermon for his wife, and we had him to write a sermon.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a pastor, and she didn't think that he could, but we had him to address the difficulties that he had with her and to give her a sermon. And she had to be the congregation. And look at what it was. And when he got through with the sermon, she had tears in her eyes, and she looked at him at a whole different way.
Yeah.
You understand? And it kind of like brought about a little healing thing there for them. And then they started working on their real issues. You know what I'm saying? Open the door. Mm-hmm.
So Dr. West, just really, really quick, because I know there are some other slides we want to share, but in terms of what about, how do we deal with the poor communicators in relationships? How do you equip them to either, if you can't find the right words, to either write them, or what are some coping mechanisms or some strategies there to help people communicate during this time?
Right.
Well, we give them feeling words, because a lot of times people don't know what a feeling is. So we give them feeling words so that and talk to them about what that means, because a lot of people don't have the vocabulary to even express how they feel. So, and then you don't use I told you. Those those are not terms that you use. You try to reframe it in a different way. Because if you have to be careful, because you don't want to criticize, okay? Because criticize tears your partner down. So you would say, I really would like the trash moved today. You don't say, I've been telling you all these weeks to move this trash and it's still there. So see, that's not going to get you what you want, right? And so you use the I statements. These are I statements rather than pointing fingers and criticizing. Okay, Dr. Lewis, I see your head shake.
Well, no, I'm not going to say it. So some of the other things we do is we let them do nonverbal behaviors. So we'll have them all week. If that's the other partner's strength, so then they both play on that strength, and they have to communicate with each other without saying, and it becomes so much fun because we use words sometimes to get in the way of what we're trying to do or say. We become so defensive. And so when they use nonverbal behaviors and gestures and deeds and things like that, then all of a sudden they got to really work on what they're saying. And the other person accepts it a little bit differently. So we like to do that. And we do a little psychodrama sometimes where people get a chance to play it out. So we do a lot for whole body wellness, even around diabetes, when the partner is having difficulty sexually or emotionally. We look at different ways in which they can handle that non-verbally and other ways that they can create intimacy. So we do a lot of different things and looking at things not only from inside of the box, because as I told you the other day, the problems that we have when we're having difficulty, we want to stay in the comfort zone in the box. But actually what has to happen is we have to come outside of the box in order to really grow. You hear people in the church, stay in that lane, they should be saying what? They should, if you trust and have faith, they should say, when you're doing something, there's my cat, see, trying to get my attention. I know y'all hear that. So stay, instead of staying in your lane, should say, when you see that you need to get over here to do something out of your lane, please communicate and let me know that it might be good for us to do this together or do this. Teaching how and when and respect and that kind of thing. But stay in your lane is a boundary setting of the oppressor, of what was taught, that you do this because I told you so, this is what you have to do, and you don't get a chance to find or expand, and young people get frustrated, and that's why we're losing so many. As I speak to them, that's what they're saying, is it just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything. So I think the whole idea when you ask about what do you do is to get people to role play out, to seek, to even connect with each other emotionally around those situations, you see, without speaking. Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you would recommend a good family night or a good couples night of charades.
Yes, and a good couple night just to date.
Yes.
Just to romance, just to sit on the back porch and look at the moon together with some sparkling cider. You see, just to be with each other. Yes, but charades would be good as opposed to the, what's the little box thing, you know, games and whatever. Yes.
And you know what? Remember why you fell in love with him from the beginning. Go back to the days that you were dating him and everything was wonderful and he was so wonderful. So you have to go back to that.
So and y'all might be talking about it next as y'all have the spirituality and stress relief. And this might probably answer this question, but what is a piece of practical advice you would give someone that's like burnt out right now, that they're anxious, work is overwhelming right now, there's a gazillion Zoom calls, like what can we do?
That you're stressed out? Oh, I can tell you the one that works for me. I go to Herman Park and I sit on the bench and I watch the ducks. And I have a favorite duck that I take breadcrumbs to. And when I get there, that duck knows that I'm going to have breadcrumbs. And he waits until I sit down. I don't know, what is he, a duck or a goose or whatever he, but anyway, he loves, and he'll sit right there and I can put.
That's the cat.
The cat's jealous of that duck, clearly.
Oh, that's jealousy. That's just jealousy.
Spend time with that duck and not the cat.
So it is to isolate from the distractors and to be able to calm yourself down and to be able to learn to relax and be in the moment. And when you do worries, instead of worrying about all of these things, the threads, find the thread that you need to take care of at that time and put the rest of them on the shelf with a number. I'm putting this in my book. I have it in my book that I'm writing about how to deal with everything every day. You see, how to deal with it every day. And then you will see it in terms of affecting your health, your organs, your body will be less affected. You'll have peace of mind. I saw you had on the sign, free your mind. Your mind will be free. When you take your mind away from the demands of other people and other things, the worst thing we have in our world is other people want you to be like them, want you to do it the way that they want to do it. It's not the meeting of the mind, you see. But I have to say that I have been blessed to be in a situation, work-wise, life-wise, right now that I can just, everybody can express themselves and then come some consensus. It may not be what I want, but it's the process, you see, that I'm speaking about. Yes, the opening of the process.
Right, because I know it's super important, and I think Enid can agree. Like, if your because we're at home, we're working from home, you don't know how to have boundaries. It's hard to cut off that work. You're constantly working, and it's no cutoff point like, oh, I get off work now, I'm driving home and now I'm at home. Well, because you're at home, you're always now can be working, so I think that was really good advice, like just to make sure, like, to center yourself and create a space for yourself.
Yes.
And like you said, you can't do everything at one time for everyone. So
what was that commercial? It was a commercial. Anybody remember the commercial that came on? And it was this woman got up, the man was sitting at the counter, and they were having coffee. She got her cup of coffee as she usually does, and she left. And she got on the train and she went downtown and she was drinking her coffee, and she came back. And the husband said, I often wonder where you go in the morning since you're working from home. So what she was doing, she was creating her routine so she could be by herself. and get some time. So she would get up in the morning, get her coffee, and get on the bus, ride the bus downtown. And then she would come back and she would have a feeling that she had done something different and she didn't have to be with him day in and day out.
Right.
So I like, that's what you're speaking.
Understand that. I guess I can understand that.
Yes.
I had a friend like that. She had young kids, and so she always felt she never could eat, like, because your kids are gonna want to eat what you eat. And so she would get off work, go grab herself something to eat, and then eat in her driveway and listen to music, have her air conditioning on and everything, and chill out there in the garage for a while before she actually would make it in. So
That's good. That's good. I even tell people, don't go.
uh-oh.
Oh, we lost her. We can't hear you. Is that your cat?
Okay. So some people we tell to go in their driveway and before you go in the house to debrief and get ready for your next place. Sometimes we move too fast from one situation to another situation and we don't bridge the situations. So that's a real good technique to debrief. They even do that for soldiers. Before you come in, we debrief from that situation to another. And that's something that we help couples and families do, individuals, yes.
That's good. Okay, so I know we're getting close to a time, and I wanted to make sure if there was anything like pertinent that you guys want to share it, so I can make sure to give people an opportunity to ask questions to you guys so they can get some of your wisdom.
Would you like for me to share my little demonstration breathing techniques, Dr. Lewis, or you want to wait?
Your exercises?
Yes, you can do it. Yes, I think good. I think good.
Okay. We can do it. Okay. So first of all, I want you to just relax.
Okay.
Just relax and close your eyes. And I want you to inhale through your mouth and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. Let's do it one more time. Inhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. One more time. Inhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you're exhaling all that toxic stress. Exhale through your nose. Okay. All right. Now I want you to open your eyes and put your hands together like this and rub your hands like this. Can you see me? Rub your hands together like this, really, really hard. Rub them, 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 rub them until you feel that heat in your hands, right? And then I want you to cross your arm and put that heat where that stress is on your shoulders. And just let it be there. And feel that release. Okay? Wow. Feel that heat. Let's do it again. Rub your hands really, 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 really hard. Really, really, really. You feel that heat. Feel that heat. Feel that heat. Cross your arm. And wherever that stress is, if it's on your neck, put the hand on your neck. If you find it in your back, put it on your back and just feel that heat and just breathe. Breathe. Okay. That's something you can do at your desk. It's really easy. It's really simple. And you can do it and kind of like bring back that peacefulness. All of that, it takes that stress away.
That's a really good point and a really good exercise because, so frequently we hear people say, oh, I don't have time to take care of myself, or I don't have time to go exercise or go to the spa or whatever that getaway is. But learning to be disciplined enough to just where you are to press pause and be intentional about your health and well-being. So I really enjoyed that.
Yes.
Really enjoyed that.
Good.
And you could tell them about, well, you have the music thing. Well, sometimes we'll do the music thing with you, and you can soak your feet, wrap a hot towel around your feet with eucalyptus oil a little bit, and all of a sudden your body will feel cleansed and it relaxes the stress. We do also, you can try, and I thought I was going to have it with me today, but it didn't come. It's a little equipment that you put with your phone, and we're going to be using it hopefully. And then you can monitor your blood pressure as you were breathing, to see if you could lower your blood pressure. And then they'll be able to send that to us so we can monitor them over time. And then they can put their hand on it and it will tell them their stress level. Okay, and it will send it to us. So that'll be something that I'm looking forward to, that we have the equipment in the office, but this is something that the people could have at their homes. Congregations could even have it.
You can also keep a gratitude journal. And so you just write down everything that you're grateful for, and that dispels all the negativity. And you can remember everything during the day that you're grateful for. And that helps you. Writing is therapeutic, and it helps us just release all of that. But because God is so good to us, we can be grateful, right? And sometimes we forget that.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm going to extend this time, and we can keep going and asking questions and going ahead. But if any of our participants or anyone, if you guys want to come in, chime in, ask questions, this is the time to do it. We have Dr. Lewis and Ms. West on deck, so please take advantage. They have such a wealth of knowledge. And in the meantime, we're getting in questions. Let me ask you guys this: is the way you handle your mental health or stress when you were younger versus where you are right now in life, are they completely different? Have you learned, what are some of the things that jewels and things that you have learned that you would want to give someone wisdom about?
Well, I think before, as younger for myself, I was more into trying to control things, trying to keep things in order. And I think as I'm older, I'm more comfortable in not keeping things in order and determining how to be systematic in what is important. You see, what is important at the moment in time and what's important, period. And some of the other things that I thought was important were not important. They were just what other people thought were important. You see, that you were going along. And so I think that that's the difference. Even in my practice, before I was more into the Rogerian as I was in a younger age. And now I really see that the feelings that we have are pretty much controlled or dictated by the things that we think. And that is how we get our feelings. Before it was kind of like right there, your feelings, which that's what you're experiencing. And so I know everybody have different ways of seeing that, but I really have over the years begun to see that if we can train the mind, because we can rewire the brain. We as human beings, we have been given the potential to rewire our brain. And that's why we study the Bible, or that's why we study books, because exactly what we're doing is changing all the chemical the cells and how they're speaking to each other in our brain. And this is what I see as I'm older, is the most important thing that we need to help our children with and our people in congregations do, is really develop more, instead of going through the routine or practice of ceremonies, but really have a healing community, a church where people they get there to be healed, to find their strengths and to be healed, you see.
I've learned to listen to my body. And when I'm tired, I stop and I rest. And I don't push myself any further, because if you do, then you're depleting your own energy and you're just running on fumes. So I learned to just listen to my body. When it says rest, I rest. I learned how to sleep. Dr. Lewis tell you. I like sleeping. I learned how to just stop and rest. And that's what I've learned, as opposed to being younger and just going like the little ever ready battery. I can take the battery out and stop.
Right.
That's good.
And that's you spoke of sleeping. That is the most healing thing that we could help someone do, is to go to bed and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different little techniques and things like that will help a person. And the main one is to de-junk. Okay. And so we go through a whole series of helping a person de-junk. And I think sleep, and this, because the sleep is healing, especially with the COVID and the ongoing trauma and whatever, it helps to heal the immune system and to get the body ready to react again. Okay. And so there are different things that we can do, and rather than it take a toll on our health.
Dr. Lewis, you just mentioned briefly about kids and how they're adjusting to this, and even with COVID-19, one of the questions that came in from one of the attendees asked, what do we do about kids going back to school with COVID out there?
With the COVID, I think children don't really understand. Children go through stress just like adults go through stress. It's just shown in a different way. They need to know about their bodies. They need to know about stress. They need to know how to handle the COVID. They need to know that it's real. You know, we used to take flour and sugar and put it in a sieve and let them see how it comes out, so that they could see germs and say that this would be germs. This is how your body is responding to these things that are on the table, these germs, when you put your hand on a door, when you do these things, because see, they are not seeing it. So therefore they can't really believe it because of their age or how old they are. Because, you know, there are different developmental stages in terms of belief about reality of things you can't see. And so one of the things that I saw is that like 6 to 8 years old, 11 years old, we have an increase in depression we were looking at, and 12 to 17, it jumps up really high around for depression. And for anxiety, 6 to 11 is fairly moderate right now. This is what we're measuring now for the COVID. And 12 to 17, it's up like around, if we had on a 12-point scale, it'd be like 10. And this is because of the news and things. So we need to be there to interpret the news, to be able to tell them, we already know the situation. What are we going to look at the news for? We're only going to look at the news to see what we need to do differently. What can we do to become healthier? So then they have a different ear as to what they're listening to, rather than being alarmed. When they show the numbers in the evening, the children become so fearful that they're going to die then. And then we need to talk about death and living with our children. We hide it from them. And they need to be able to see that there is some measure of what we've been given to handle these situations. And so how we respond to situations, you know, what our motto is, it is not the circumstances that we meet, it is the manner in which we respond that determines our health, our happiness, and our success. That's the model for our business, our practice, and everything that we do. And we're trying to teach the children as well as the families to discern how you're going to respond and what motivates your behavior. Is it the news, or is it something that you put together logically that you see that you need to do? What are your beliefs behind this? We even teach them, you know, we help their families teach them about their belief in God and different things like that. But how does that fit in, you see? And what are you going to do? So if you really believe, then you're going to know that this is something that you need to follow through with, and you need to check it out, and you need to do something to save you and your family as well.
That's a good word. So what do you say to the caregivers whose circumstances may have changed, where they may have loved ones in a nursing home or long-term health facility, or caregiver, the primary caregiver? What do you say to them when they're not able to go to the nursing home every day, maybe, and they have been accustomed to doing so? How do you encourage them, or different ways that they can live through that experience and just being prayerful and staying stronger through it?
I think, and I'll let Miss West also respond to it, but I think just as we're talking, we're enjoying each other, and it seems that we're right there. And I say that people who are dying alone in the hospital, there's no sense in it. They can have a phone there that they can do face-to-face. And I think also in the nursing homes, when people are away from each other, we now have a way of if we could look at this COVID situation, if we really believe in that and we follow our faith, we would look at it's telling us something. We really need to draw closer and nearer to each other. And what ways can we do this? So instead of saying what we can't do, looking at what we can do and begin to do this. We can have, instead of waiting till the summer next year to have a family reunion, we could have a family reunion every month, you see? And so, so there are things that we can do. So the person in the nursing home could really see their family every night. They could talk to them before they go to bed. They could read books together. They could do a lot of things together, you see. And so joining, I think joining instead of feeling excluded, I think find ways to join and connect with each other as opposed to thinking what I don't have.
Right. My friend her mother is in the nursing home and she can't get in. So like 2 or 3 times a week, they bring her to the window and they wave at each other. They throw kisses at each other. And that's their way of connecting because she can't get in. Her mom can't get out, but at least she knows that somebody's thinking about her, that she's not thrown away in the nursing home. And it makes my friend feel better because she gets to see how she looks and she smiles. And so that's a way of connecting as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good.
Okay, you can roll some of those tips by that we've discussed and let them see that we're looking at teaching healing and teaching making the change and helping people in churches and with themselves be able to identify their symptoms, know how to respond and those kinds of things. Yes. Breathing, taking showers, and loving and caring for each other.
I like this quote. Perhaps we should love ourselves so fiercely that when others see us, they know exactly how it should be done.
That's right. That's right. That's what I say.
I like that quote.
That's a good quote.
That's a good one.
Good quote. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is talking about our breathing techniques. It's also talking about a tree of strength. And we can draw a tree and every leaf we can put our strengths on, or we can put a person that supports us and we can put that on a tree. We can put color to it and make it like a vision board. And this will help us with our stress and helping manage our stress during these times. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in you guys, and in your opinion, how important, because I know we talked about that with people who maybe have loved ones in like nursing homes and they were their primary caregiver. So then also for individuals, how important is it to keep those connections, like to have your sisterhood or in making sure that you're checking up on each other? And can y'all speak to a little bit about that?
The research shows that the more often you associate with each other, I think it's Bandura that did some research, social theorist. He found that the more contact that we had with people, the faster we heal, and physicians are finding that. They're finding that particularly among African Americans, because we tend to be, Hispanics and African Americans for the most part tend to be joiners and people who affiliate, high affiliation. So persons who are high affiliated, as they say, tend to heal better. They can have a sore, and if they have a scratch or sore, they already have found that it heals faster when we're in communication and contact with each other. So we know that our organs and our bodies are getting a different chemical, and the more we need that chemical because of our cultural heritage and our practices and our habits and our teaching in our families, then the more that we heal. And the less we do, the less we heal, and the more we have frustration and anger, you see. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is common effects of stress talk. Ooh.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, Ms. West, you can talk about that. We do mood and food. We have a chef that prepares food, and We look at different things and how food, we have a food is medicine, where the physicians come in and we do the food and prepare them in the churches and teach the congregation how to use the food to heal their tissues and their bodies and those kinds of things. So influences of the stress, for example, we teach chronic disease and diabetes and pain management. So what we do is we teach them how the chemicals, cortisol, and some of the neurotransmitters, how that functions, works, and how it affects the system in their bodies, and how they have choices and decisions about what they do. You see, what you eat, when you put your hand up to your mouth, when you make decisions about where you go, how you handle, how is that affecting your body biologically, chemically? And we know that there are three main things that tend to affect us in that way. It tends to be the heritage, the history that we have. It tends to be biological cells that we have. And then the third would be our experiences. And these are the things when we teach that we look at how a situation is. When you look at a situation and you think about it and what you do when you're under stress, all these things are going on at the same time.
Can stress be, or a level of stress be hereditary?
Yes, your cells, yes, it can be. Your body can biologically be disposed to that by coming from a stressful environment, by particularly African Americans. If that's what you're asking me, can you by your cells? You can, yes. And then because of where you come from, your environment, we already know that our heart rates are going to be higher, African Americans. The closer the environment, the closer the apartments are, the closer the houses are together, all of those things increase stress and also increase the way the body responds to the stress. So people, when we're getting ready to do next week for the criminal justice for the persons who have been incarcerated, to help them understand. So when they look at that, just by being incarcerated, just by moving into a group home after that, just from where they've come, all of those factors in sequence or compilation of stressors are going to affect, and surely they're going to have high blood pressure, most likely. And what do we eat? And so how we tend to crave those things that give psychological satisfaction, you know, and many times that food is not healthy, but it also increases the symptoms. It exacerbates the existing symptoms for blood pressure and the level of stress.
Okay, I see we have one of our guests who has raised their hand. Miss Elaine Anderson, if you're ready, we'll do allowed to talk. I know Miss Elaine, she's a member of our church. So I'm gonna allow you to talk and you can ask your question then, Miss Elaine. You are on mute. Okay, I'll come back to Miss Elaine. We can go ahead and
okay. You want to go ahead? We'll go ahead with that and we'll get back to Elaine.
Okay.
Ooh, look. Okay. We talked about hypertension and ulcers and ways to resolve stress and put it at end.
Okay.
Asserting yourself. And we teach you how to resolve conflict. Dr. Lewis teaches conflict resolution. And so we won't, because when you're in conflict, your blood pressure goes up, your stress level goes up, and then your whole day is ruined because you've been in conflict with someone else. We teach communication skills, social support and networking, and time management, learning how to set goals and prioritize and schedule. And most important, learning how to say no. I think we've left no out of our vocabulary. We want to do everything for everybody, but we forget about ourselves and we don't know how to say no. And learning how to delegate. Delegate. That's my problem. I need to learn how to delegate because I want to do it all. But I need to learn how to delegate and then limit your interruptions. If you're, I tell one of my clients, if you're not feeling it, just tell your husband or put a little ribbon on the door. When the ribbon comes off the door, you can come in. So you can limit your interruptions so that you can have some downtime and so that you can think. She's laughing. So you can think and just kind of relax and be ready for him. What you saying, Dr. Lewis? I see that head.
Because you know what I do to them. They know I do that to them. I have my door. And I mean, I love you, but you can stay right where you are. Don't come in here. I need this moment.
So healthy boundaries are encouraged,
Oh,
right?
very good. Yes, but and when you can have an understanding and everybody, when I go to this person's door, they have the door, I go like, oh, okay then. Okay then. So it's like appreciation of communication. And so when you can do that together, then it really makes it good in the workplace and at home.
That's right. That's right. You
Yeah,
can
and
practice
that was it. Personally for me. I think all these notes under the time management can, if you don't, really tackle it and really take a real look at yourself, it can definitely keep you stressed out.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it can.
And you have to have a mental, well, I'll say what works for me. What works for me is and they telling me, Dr. Lewis, you got to get more technical. I say, but if I can mentally see my calendar, I can pace myself better. I can't have my calendar come to me piece at a time. I need to be able to see it all together so that I will know how my whole day and my whole week is going to flow, a whole month going to flow, and I'll know exactly what I have to do. I think sometimes technology is a detriment because our memory is decreasing. You ask the person that's techie, they can't tell you what they did that morning. They can't tell you anything. If it's not on the computer, they don't know nothing. I used to know numbers. I could remember 25, 30 numbers. Now I don't even know one person's number. And I said to myself, this is not healthy. So right now, what I have started, since my phone was sick a while back, I'm trying to get numbers back. I'm writing my numbers in a book. And I noticed that as I'm writing the numbers in the book and I dial them every day, I can now remember more numbers. So sometimes you have to do what is good for you and what works for you. And that would decrease your stress. And also in terms of timing, help you. My point was keep a personal rhythm so that you don't get out of stress or out of step on somebody else's march. Is what I say. With these Zoom calls, I'm on somebody else's march, and every one of them talking about the same thing. I proposed the other day that we set up committees on the same time and let everybody at the end come back with their resolution for the different things at the same time. We would probably get more done in the day. We probably do some of the things that we're speaking about doing. You see.
And Enid just got to me. Speaking of time management, it's 7:40.
Yes.
I have let y'all go over more than
Okay.
Well, I was having so much fun. I had even got my little thing over here, you see my little drink, and I was okay, but it was fun. It
was fun. I enjoyed it.
First off, I want to give you guys time to even kind of discuss what some of the upcoming things that are happening with Amani Faith Health and where you're located. Maybe you guys can type in or maybe we can type in your contact information. What can
Wes, you can type in while I talk, because you're better at that. Okay. So so I tell you some of the things that I'm excited about. I'm excited about doing life that Miss West is doing, helping to decrease stress around the COVID and bringing people together in a harmonious environment. I'm excited about transformation program that we have, and that's really helping people to go from all of this problems on the job and at home, and actually transforming their lives to transcend. And the spirit, all of our programs are mind, body, spirit based. Okay. And it's belief built. Okay. So we actually help incorporate people's belief system and what they're going to use. And so they learn how to make it a step at a time. So it's a metamorphosis, so to speak. And the other thing we have coming up is the Young Chef program. So in the churches, we're going to be doing it virtually right now. And the young people will be signing up to have their contest. And they will do a dish, show a dish, but they must have one of their family members there to taste the dish and rate it, like that. And so we'll do that. We have that so they can learn more about how food affects their bodies, and then kind of develop a take charge attitude about it. We have the pastors round table that I'm so happy about, because it was so hard to finally get the pastors to see. And so now all of the pastors that we're working with, they will receive a formal invitation, but so many are there on the third Wednesday of every month. And they'll be looking at developing a healing community and what we need to do to come together to have a healing community. And then we're not going to do the biofeedback because it requires sensors and touch and those kinds of things. But we are going to use the method that I showed you. So we're increasing our food as medicine, and all of the churches must monitor the congregations virtually. They will step on their scale. They will do a blood pressure, and somebody's donating blood pressures for the congregation members, or either we're setting up in the vestibule a place where people can go in once a month and do their blood pressures. And what they're able to do is they're able to get healthy organic foods at Riverside United Methodist Church at least 3 Saturdays. That's their thank you for being healthy kind of thing. And then we're going to have the cook-off in October for the healthy thing. For the healthy meal. So that's what we have coming.
So many great things happening with you guys. Y'all, the level of energy you guys have, clearly I need to come in for some more lessons on my stress so I can have that much energy.
Well, come right on, because we're going to do a professionals. We have a writing and healing group, and that's part of the transformation, the writing and healing and drawing and all of that. And you're perfectly welcome to sign up. And the wonderful thing about it is that your insurance covers most of your sessions.
Wow. And what about on something like Medicaid or?
Yes, it covers. Medicaid covers all stress, post-traumatic stress, even your prevention for diabetes and all of that. It covers a lot of it. Okay, awesome. But the training, it does not necessarily cover. At this time, we're trying to get that taken care of. But so people really, it's really bringing people together in a format that they could actually use it. Most people do attend church, and we're working on the pastors kind of beginning to talk about whole body wellness. We do a stand-up. We used to go to the church and do a stand-up, and everybody would have to stand up in honor of somebody who died, okay, to correct the situation for that loved one. Okay, and then the pastor would give a sermon about it. We did it at Trinity East, and we did it at several churches in Houston to do that, and they had to do it. So I think it's a good intervention.
Well, again, I definitely want to thank you, both of you, for coming and joining us. I had such a good time. I
did too. Thank you for inviting us, Miss Enid, Miss Henderson. Thank you so much. And Miss Somerville, thank you so much for inviting us.
Yes,
absolutely. So much fun. And I'm not sure if you guys got to get your information into the chat room.
Yes,
however,
I did.
If anyone that's
I didn't see it.
I sent it.
You sent it? Okay, but even if you can't see it, if you look on the flyer, you'll see the contact information for the website to Jones Memorial, also my email. So then if you don't catch it, we can definitely feel free to contact us, and we'll send you the information for Dr. Lewis and Mrs. West. I hope we see you guys again next Thursday as well. We'll have another guest. Her name is Paige Cryer, and she's actually an LPC intern as well, just like Ms. West, at Heritage Behavioral Health. And the topic will be strictly about talking about psychological first aid for children during COVID.
Yes.
So again, this was extremely enjoyable. I'm so glad that we did this. I had so much fun. I'm probably gonna watch this again because it's recorded just so I can laugh and get some extra tips.
And we're going to get a copy. We're going to get a chance to get a copy.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at that. Okay, we'll look at it again too.
Okay.
Then. Thank you.
Well, thank you both again. Thank you, Jessica. Just wanted to say thank you. And thank you to everyone who showed up this evening to hear this information. We're so grateful for your prayers and everything. I think this was a great time together. Lots of information. I'm going to be doing a lot more of this.
That's true. That's true.
And practicing a lot more charades.
Yes, very good. Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Leave